Hey, welcome to the Jeff and Jeff podcast. My name is David Walston. As you can tell, there's only one of us today. It's because my father, who is the other host, Jeff, had his knee surgery replacement a couple weeks ago. Still isn't quite there and ready to get out here and sit behind a microphone for a half an hour. So hopefully we'll have him back by the time we do our next podcast next week. Good morning to everyone. It's not morning now because I'm recording this late and I'll be uploading it tomorrow morning. But hopefully you guys are ready to jump into some news topics. So the things we've got for you today, the Department of Education is closing, or is it? The business tax deadline just passed, so we'll talk a little bit about that and why I care about that. No more soda for SNAP benefits. Mark Rober created a video about self-driving for Tesla, but he didn't actually use full self-driving. And then Thomas Massie presents his bill to end the Department of Education yet again. And we'll throw in some other topics too as we get to them. So first off, let's take a look at what happened. What day was this? It wasn't that long ago, a couple of days ago. So let me switch over here so you can see what I'm talking about. There's this nice little video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but Donald Trump comes out and he signs an executive order to end the Department of Education, sort of. Why I say sort of is because he can't just unilaterally end the Department of Education because it was actually passed into law by Congress. So he can't just end it. But what he can do is he can cut out all the waste and gut the department and then take all of the things that are required by the law to be done and put them other places. So one of the things he's done is he's moved the student loan stuff over to the Department of, where is it? Oh, I've completely lost it. We'll do the child. So part of what the DOE does is it funds lunches for kids who don't have enough funds to pay for them themselves. So if you meet a certain funding level, you can get free lunches for your children at school. That will now move out of the Department of Education and under HHS, which makes a lot of sense. Treasury, thank you. And then the loans, student loans, are moving under the Treasury Department. And then essentially the DOE is still going to exist, but it's not going to have any employees, and they'll be the person he appointed there just as its figurehead because he's required to have them. And we'll get onto what Thomas Massie did later, but I think is awesome. It's a great step forward. I don't understand a lot of Trump's critics. I mean, I do get what they're saying, like with the continuing resolution he passed. Thomas Massie wasn't very happy about it because it didn't cut funding for the government at all. And guess what? Trump knew that. And the reason he got it passed is because he's trying to negotiate. He wants to put himself in a position to be able to do everything he wants to do with the cards he has to play. And right now, and this is something I don't understand, and I feel like it should just be a rule that has changed. But right now, he can't pass funding legislation without more than 60 votes in the Senate. And he does not have 60 votes in the Senate because he needs some Democrat votes to do that, to get past the filibuster. I would just say, since the Republicans control the majority, just to remove that rule. That's my thinking, and I know there's probably some people are like, well, you can't do that because you need more than 60 votes to remove the rule. I don't think so. No, not at all. Guess what? If you have the majority, just do what you want and force them to make you change it. I don't get it at all. So I posted this post here when it looked like we might not meet the funding deadline for the CR. And my whole point with this post was, if the Democrats didn't help pass the CR to fund the government, would that have been a bad thing for Republicans? No, because the government would be shut down. And it's kind of what they wanted anyway. But to get in the negotiation position they had to say they wanted to pass something. Anytime you negotiate with someone, anytime at all, if you've presented a deal and you want to change it, you have less negotiating power than if you present a deal that you've sort of agreed on already, and the other party wants to change it. You always want to put yourself on the high ground of negotiating so that you have more options. Because with a CR deal like this, it was a clean CR to give essentially Trump more time to negotiate with Republicans on omnibus spending bills so that he can get the cuts, he can get the elimination of departments, he can get everything he wants into one big bill, which will put him in a negotiating position of either you pass this or bad things happen. It's a negotiating tactic, and you have to understand that. Now, the thing I get, and I do get it, people like Thomas Massey are always going to vote no on those things, and I wish he wouldn't sometimes, because I feel like Trump needs to, when you have ideologues like Thomas Massey or Rand Paul, who have good ideologies they follow, if you have a plan that is essentially going to, at the end, fulfill what they want to get done, but you have 30 steps before there, you kind of have to pull them in and show them, here's what we're working on. Now, there's risks there, because if they leak that information or they start saying things in public, then it's going to be harder to implement your plan. So that could be a risk, and maybe why that Trump hasn't really told everyone what's going on there. But he's in a good position. Trump has put him in a very good position for negotiating going forward. The Democrats have literally nothing. They're picking the 20% battles. They're picking the sides that are losing, and Trump's picking the winning sides and doing awesome things. So even if you don't trust bureaucrats, which you shouldn't, Trump has continued to prove that he actually wants to do the things he said he wanted to do. He has been the most libertarian president there's ever been, the most conservative. He's been awesome. So I'm looking forward to see what happens coming up. The next thing we'll talk about, because I'm just going off on whatever I want to, is judges. So there have been several judges that have blocked Trump's executive orders and such. Now, some of those actions make sense because he's on purpose creating executive orders so that a lawsuit will go against it, so he can get it to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court will decide finally on it. So like birthright citizenship. His whole point with that executive order was not to sign it and be like, no one was going to object to it. No, he expected the objection because he wanted to get it to the Supreme Court so the Supreme Court could rule, guess what? Birthright citizenship is not actually a part of the Constitution. And we think that's going to happen. That's going to take a little while. No, what I'm talking about is when the lower court judges interfere with the executive authority that he actually does have. And the best example of that is when he sent the gang members to El Salvador on the airplanes, and the judge put out a ruling and told him to turn the planes around. Guess what? He invoked the Aliens Entities Act, or whatever it's called. That gives him, and that is an act passed by Congress, that gives him the executive authority to do exactly what he did. That judge has absolutely no reason or no ability to stop him. So now Trump has this fine line to walk, and the fine line is this. Courts have no ability to enforce their actions. None. Against the executive. They have no military. They have no police. They have no ability to enforce actions against the executive branch. And so now Trump has this weird spot where he can literally ignore all the judges and they can do absolutely nothing and completely destroy the power the judicial branch holds by not respecting them, and they can do nothing about it. Or he can sort of walk this fine line of, I'm sort of going to listen to you, but I'm going to still do my own thing, so that the judicial branch seems to actually have authority in government. And I think that's what he's doing. I think he's going to try to play that line because, honestly, he doesn't have to do anything to listen to them. And these lower court judges should be impeached immediately and thrown out. And someone said apparently you have to have 64 votes in the Senate to be able to successfully impeach a judge. Again, I'll ask, if that's some dumb rule that is not part of the Constitution or a law passed Congress, but it's just a rule in the Senate, why not change it? So that's where I'm at today. Our government is awesome and is not awesome, but Trump's doing an awesome job. And what I think he is proving and doing that other Republicans have never done is he's taken power. He has power. He has a mandate, and he's actually using that power to get things done, where other Republicans in the past will get elected in the office and get this power, and then they'll be real wishy-washy and don't want to offend anyone. He doesn't mind offending people. He wants majority of people to like him, and he does have that, I think. So, what's our next topic? I think we've got SNAP benefits. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about this real quick. First, I prepare taxes. That's one of my businesses I do. We do tax and accounting work. And the business deadline was on Monday because Saturday was the 15th, I believe. So it's on the Monday following. And the thing I wanted to point out is if you have a small business that files its own separate tax return, more than likely your taxes were due on Monday. Guess what? I filed a lot of extensions, and that's okay. Extensions are actually a good thing because if you found an accountant that you like working with, they're probably overworked. Why? Because my industry is shrinking. The talent of my industry is shrinking. The amount of experienced CPAs for every like 2 to 3 that retire, only one replaces them. And so guess what? For me to have the proper amount of time to be able to review your tax returns and your information, I'm going to have to extend them. So extensions are a good thing. So if your tax person extends your tax return, you should be happy about that. It gives you plenty more time to get paperwork together, ask questions, have a discussion about it. If your tax preparer is rushing to prepare all these returns by a deadline, the likelihood of you being able to discuss that tax return with him before he has to file it is almost zero. So that's my 2 cents on how you should treat your tax preparer. So yeah. This next one is a little bit controversial. Let's just say that. It's my hot top. It's just something I think is important to think about and have a critical thinking about. And a lot of people don't agree with me about it. So this guy recently posted this, and I think we mentioned it before in the podcast, that he thinks that POTUS should have a salary of $20 million a year and senators should have a salary of $5 million, House members $2 million. And I completely agree. That is my hot take. I'll probably offend people with that because anytime Congress tries to raise their own salaries, people get pissed. Why should you get paid more? You shouldn't be able to do X, Y, Z. Guess what? One of the reasons we have so much corruption in our government is because they make $100,000, $100 and something thousand a year. People in the House and the Senate, I think it makes about the same. And then the president makes about $400,000 a year. And you're like, that's a lot of money. Not for where they live and where they're required to work and all the traveling and all the stuff they have to do. When you're required to have a certain type of fit and finish to your outfits and be able to live in DC and close enough that you actually do your job, your expenses are going to be well above $100,000 a year. And especially since you're going to probably have to put your kids in private school so that you can have protection, and you're going to probably have to pay for security details for your family if they're not protected by Secret Service. And most congressmen do not have Secret Service protection. That's a lot of money. And so what happens? You'll get some freshman congressman coming in, making $100 and something thousand a year, and it doesn't cover his bills. And so a lobbyist comes up and says, hey, I can get you a couple $1 million if you do this for me. And guess what they do? They do it because they need the money, cover their expenses, so they're not stressed about it. This is one of the key things when you're dealing in the finance world with when you're looking for fraud at a business. You look at the employees' job description, responsibilities, and pay. If their pay is not commensurate with their job description and oversight, so if they are managing hundreds of employees and they're not paid well enough, they will be more likely to steal from you and commit fraud and embezzle from the company because they feel like they're not being compensated well enough. And that is true all over the world. If money money is one of the main reasons people commit fraud. They don't feel like they have enough. They don't feel like they're making ends meet. And so when you put someone in a position of great power and don't pay them enough to pay their bills, or it's real close, they are going to find that money elsewhere. And that's what our government officials have been doing. And so the easiest solution to that is just to increase their pay a lot. And so this does two things. One, it reduces fraud and corruption automatically. Is it going to get rid of it, all of it? No, but it's going to get rid of like 60 to 70% of it. Part two, guess what? That awesome small business owner who's been running his own business, kicking butt and working a ton because he loves his family and he loves his country and he just loves what he's doing, but he's making he's making like 400 to 500,000, maybe $1 million a year. That kind of guy could actually go get this job and do well because it would attract him because he's not giving up this massive business he's built to make $150,000 a year. And there's a bunch of people in here in the comments are just complete idiots. And one of them's like, well, I just wanted to be less. I don't think they should make anything. And the guy was like, so you want an oligarchy running the country? And he's like, yeah. I was like, are you an idiot? No, I want ordinary citizens to have the opportunity to run for these offices and then actually be paid enough that they're not stressing out about their debt. Some 30-year-old guy who's been working a W-2 job could run for office and do okay. But I'm really thinking of small business owners, people who are in the world, who meet face-to-face with clients a lot. Guess what? Making $2 million a year as a congressman would actually be a draw and maybe make it worthwhile of them either giving their small business to one of their employees or family members and running for office or something like that. So I think it would be awesome and amazing if we upped the salaries of these individuals. He also mentions you could up the salaries and then implement insider trading rules and stuff like that. That would work. Here's the thing. The law that needs to be passed isn't the special laws for congressmen. All we need to do is make sure that there is a law in the books that says congressmen have to abide by the laws of the ordinary citizen. No exceptions. Nothing whatsoever. And so if they want to do insider trading, then all the citizens have to be able to allow to do insider trading as well. That kind of stuff. But yeah, I think he makes some good points there. Especially about the lobbying for 10 years. Guess what? If you're making $2 million to $5 million a year and you've done that for 10 years, guess what? When you leave office, you've got probably a pretty good nest egg and you can actually live your life. That's the other thing, right? You go in there, you make $150,000 a year. And yes, there are some outliers who are coming out as millionaires. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has made more money being in Congress than anyone else. But there's also hundreds of people in the House. Not all of them come out making tons of money. A lot of them do, but not all of them. So guess what? If you're making $150,000 a year, it kind of feels like a kick in the pants if you leave and, well, now what do I do? Lobbying. That's the easiest thing to get into and make lots of money. Well, guess what? If you make a good amount of money and then you leave, you could actually go start your own business or something like that. You don't have to rely on those types of connections to do that. So that's my 2 cents. That's my hot take. I think we should pay them lots more. And I think that is a great idea. So what's next? This was another controversial topic. Apparently conservatives are unhappy about this. I got a couple posts here. Let me pull them up. That's not the right one. Where did it go? Yeah, this is it. Okay. So the government, if you didn't know, the amount of money the federal government spends on food is insane through its different programs. It's not like it just specifically buys foods, but through SNAP, Medicare, Medicaid, military spending on food, and all the other things that it spends money on to buy food for people. It makes makes up a large percentage of food purchases in the U.S. So I think MAHA or RFK Jr. have this great opportunity to fix food in America by making what the federal government spends on food spent on good food. And that's what this is about. So it looks like RFK Jr. is going to prevent or not allow SNAP benefits to be used on soda. And this is huge. Soda is one of the... I drink it. I drink soda. I probably drink too much of it. I've actually cut it down a little bit. But it's one of the worst things for you. It's not great. It's terrible, actually. And guess what? Pepsi and Coca-Cola are subsidized by SNAP. The amount of people on SNAP that buy soda is insane. And so they're going to push hard for this not to happen. But I think it would be great. Making small steps for this, we're going to change the ecosystem in the grocery store, because you can't use government benefits to buy bad food. And a lot of these Republicans are like, well, you should have the freedom to spend your money. It's not your money. First off, it's not your money. So let's move that aside. Okay. They feel like you should be able to get whatever you can. You can buy whatever you want. You just can't spend the government money on it. And that's the difference here on a lot of these people's arguments, is they're like, you should be able to buy what you want. You can 100% buy what you want. This response here. You shouldn't be able, you shouldn't be able to buy whatever the F you want with taxpayer money. There should absolutely be limitations. Don't like it? Use your own money. That right there is 100% correct. And the thing is, so my wife and I, when we were first in our marriage, I lost my job twice, was unemployed for a year or more. We were on SNAP for a little bit and on WIC benefits because we had a new child. The crap that you're not allowed, the things you're not allowed to spend money on is ridiculous. So there are some healthy food options that you can't use your money on. And then the things you're allowed to buy are completely ridiculous. So I am all for reforming the program and making it so it has to be slightly healthier. Like getting rid of sodas is great, but there's still a ton of other sugary drinks that are just as bad as soda you could probably still buy. So let's not be stupid. Let's actually try to make America healthy. So that's my other hot take of the day. I think SNAP benefits should not be allowed to be used on soda. In addition, in that same field, what I was talking about before with DOE closing and the funding for student lunches moving under HHS, guess what? This thing, I think, would be huge. And it's not hard. All schools that receive the benefits for school lunches have full kitchens. They should be required to make healthy food for the kids. There's this study done at a prison. I know schools aren't prisons, but sometimes they look that way. Where they tested types of foods on the inmates. They used the more processed, not as good food, fed all the inmates that. They had a lot more fighting. And then they fed them healthier options, and they had less aggressive inmates. This is a huge, huge problem in America. We've allowed lobbyists, and that's what it is. These massive conglomerates and huge corporations have come in and paid off our government officials to skew the food pyramid to convince, people who are over DOE and other departments to buy these terrible, terrible products that they didn't actually do studies on and said they're healthy to feed to our children, to our military, and allow people on SNAP to buy. And now people are mad because someone who actually has some knowledge on it is looking into it and trying to fix it. I mean, what the thing is you can make healthy meals for kids in schools for $3 to $4. I think it's something like that needs to be. And it can be like rice and chicken and other things that are healthy, and like broccoli and other things for that price. It doesn't have to be. And the other thing with that is if you move to the less processed foods, you help our economy because you promote the production of those types of foods in the economy. So there's a lot of issues there. And like I said, I mentioned the military. We should be doing the same thing for the military. We should be designing our food to best fuel our military in a healthy way. So this is a great opportunity for MAHA to change the food environment in the United States and make everyone healthier. Because what happens is if this funding changes and the other products aren't sold as much, you're going to have a shift in the grocery stores, and you're going to have less bad options because this massive spend is no longer allowed to be spent there. And so you're going to automatically have healthier options, which will mean that the normal people shopping in the grocery stores, when they look for stuff, will have more healthy options to buy and are more likely to buy those healthy options. This is awesome. I love it. Let's get rid of soda out of SNAP and look at some other things as well. All right, so this another controversy that happened this week is Mark Rober. I don't know if you know who he is. My kids love him. I normally enjoy his videos. He created this video reviewing a Tesla, and what he did is he compared it to... Let me start again. The goal was to see if the Tesla would see a fake wall that looked like the road and stop or keep on driving, just like when the Roadrunner would write, or the Wild Coyote would paint a fake road on like a rock, and the Roadrunner would run through it, and it would be fine, but the Coyote would run into it. That idea with a Tesla. He wanted to see if it would see it or if it would drive through it. So he did this test, right, with two cars. One was a Tesla, one was a car equipped with LiDAR from his friend's company, who isn't doing very well because Tesla and other AI or self-driving cars aren't using LiDAR anymore. Okay? So Tesla's car didn't see it. The one he drove didn't see it. It just drove right through. And the LiDAR car, of course, saw it and stopped. Problem is, because there's a lot of Tesla fanboys, they were able to see that Mark Rober didn't use the most current version of the software, wasn't on full self-drive, he was just on autopilot, which is a lesser version. And so he didn't actually test it right. And then 3, he turned on auto drive seconds before he hit the wall. So didn't even have enough time to do anything. So another guy by the name of Kyle went ahead and did his own test. And you should watch the whole thing because it's really interesting. It'll be part of the links. But essentially what happens is he finds out that his Model Y, which has, let me see if I can find where it shows what version it's on. Right there. Let's pause it. So he's on version 12. He has a software update, which people pointed out, why didn't you just update your software to see if that would fix it? But he didn't. It has a version 2 hardware kit in it as well. Computer hardware, not cameras, computer hardware. And it didn't see the wall. Then, afterwards, he gets his friend in a Cybertruck. And the Cybertruck has version 13 with a hardware 3 package. So his Model Y was from 2022. The Cybertruck's from 2025. The Cybertruck saw the wall and stopped perfectly fine. So what it seems like is that Mark Rober purposely used an outdated model, a vehicle with outdated tech in it, at least 3 years old from Tesla, to see if it would see a wall versus the most advanced LiDAR tech, which did see the wall, when in reality he needs to either redo the test, take the video down, do it again. As he says here, probably a good idea to rerun the test before people start thinking you intentionally lied about Tesla's latest capability to boost your friend's LiDAR business, which is a direct competition with full self-drive. And that's what it looks like. It looks like he was peddling his friend's LiDAR business without actually doing a true test, and it makes him look like a liar. So, if your kids have watched it, that is why there's some outrage around it. He did not do a good test. He needs to do it again. And if he refuses to do it again, he's going to look like he has no credibility, which isn't surprising, but it is what it is. The final thing, since we're still talking about Tesla, is if you didn't know, there's a lot of Tesla cars getting vandalized. There's been Tesla dealerships burned up. And this is the response from liberal people. How dare you attack a Tesla? Those Porsche cars have filling too. No, you idiot. Kid Rock was an idiot. I think he was an idiot. Why would you buy something to destroy it? But he did. He bought Bud Light and shot it. Great. It was his. He could do what he wanted. He could do what he wanted with it. Destroying other people's property, shooting up places, is not the same. Not even close. Not even a little bit close. So anyone out there who's like, they're just posting. No, they're shooting up. There's been shootings at dealerships. They're firebombing dealerships. It is a terrorist attack because the purpose of it is to create fear and terror, which is the definition of terrorism. So people are being dumb. Do not destroy other people's property. Do not destroy other people's property. In addition, if you are unaware or you don't know much about Teslas, they have 7 cameras on the outside of it. They will see you. Don't be an idiot. Don't get thrown in jail because you have an emotional regulation problem. Stop listening to the mainstream media. They lie to you. So that's my short rant there for that. I think we got a couple more stories here. What do we got? The last story of the day. I've if you haven't seen this trend on X or anywhere else, here I'll see if I can pull up a bit more before I share it. I got one that was kind of fun. See if I can find some good ones. There we go. Oh, no, I just pull up JD Vance's profile. So, if you didn't know, people have putting JD Vance's face on a bunch of stuff. And it's hilarious. We love it. I love it. I think it's hilarious. Apparently, the liberal media doesn't understand at all whatsoever what's going on. They're like, why would the conservatives be making fun of JD Vance? It's not. It's fun. It's a fun thing. It's hilarious. So here's a couple of my favorites. This one's fun because, I'm a fan of Pokemon. So he's a Pokemon now. And then JD Vance posted this one. And of course, he's just having fun. It's fun. People just posting his face on literally everything. It is hilarious. So if you haven't seen that, you should. The story of the day will end on, if I can find it. I had it up before. Let me see if I can find him real quick. So, if you watch Shark Tank, you know who Kevin O'Leary is. He's Mr. Wonderful. I hate the name. I'm not a huge fan of the way he does those type of things. But where is it? There it is. Here's the one. Here's the one we want to watch. Let me get it back here. And then we got to turn the audio on. Is that right? No. Yeah, there we go. I think that's it. Okay. You just got to start it over. All right. I've got to turn them up a little bit.
110,000 high schools in America. The majority of them are in New York, Florida, Texas, and California. As an individual who worked in the education system for 14 years, there's 110,000 high schools in America. The majority of them are in New York, Florida, Texas, and California. Our reading and math scores are the worst in the G7 and the G20 in terms of how many dollars we spend to advance our children. Okay. Why? Unions. Unions that keep mediocre teachers in place in every high school in America when we should be firing them.
Kevin O'Leary is 100% correct.
I would like to fire teachers that don't... Wait. And I'd like to pay a lot more to the teachers that advance math and reading scores that push our system forward against every G7.
So that's one of his videos. I'm going to find another one for you guys. He has been on fire lately, going on CNN, and it's been great. Oh, this is the other one.
You're a criminal. I don't think...
So let me get this pulled up so you can see it.
When you set a car on fire, you should go to jail. You're a criminal.
Correct.
I don't think we have to talk about it in any other context. Yeah. And all those cars have cameras in them, and those dealerships have cameras. You're beyond being stupid when you do that. You're going to go to jail, and you now have a government that just got their mandate. They can't wait to find idiots that do this.
Yes.
You're going to spend 5 to 20 years in prison. If they get them on terrorism, which I think is a stretch, they will have no parole, no shortened sentence. They'll rot in hell in prison for 20 years. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. Breaking in, shooting a car, setting on fire, nothing to do with the politics, nothing to do with Tesla. You are a criminal, and you should go to jail. What about
the broader question about the protest factor? I mean, you heard
what protest? You're a criminal.
I'm talking about
Correct. Kevin O'Leary is correct. She is an idiot. This is not protests. This is terrorism.
And his comments about the Tesla stock, he says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan.
Yep.
I mean, what's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state? I mean, that's their...
Yep, correct. Tim Walz is so dumb that as a governor of Minnesota, he doesn't realize that Tesla is 3% of their pension plan, and him wanting it so badly to drop is hurting his own citizens. Stop being an idiot. Stop allowing the DRR after you're on your voter registration to dictate how you think. I just recently registered as a Republican in the state of Utah so that I can vote in primaries. That's the only reason. If you're unable to look at what your person that you voted for says critically and say that they're wrong, then you're part of a cult. If your party gets to tell you what to believe and you're not allowed to criticize it, you're part of a cult. And that currently is the Democratic Party. That's the nice thing about the Republican Party, which I do not agree with all the time. It's like with the H-1B visa debate that happened in December. There's a bunch of people fighting about it. That's good. The more people discuss publicly about topics or issues that they disagree with, the better ideas come to the top. That's how critical thinking works. That's how our country should work. When you try to suppress ideas, that's when you can tell you're on the wrong side. Respect is the most important thing. So I'll leave you guys with this. There's this, I don't remember who it was now, when I was in community college, because I skipped 12th grade and went to community college for my first year of college. I took a speech class, and one of the speeches I gave was on the way we need to view people versus ideas. And my dad gave me some help figuring out the topic. But what it is it's a theory of tolerance. And tolerance has lost the meaning that it used to have. Tolerance should be being egalitarian regarding peoples and elitist regarding ideas. And what that means is that every single person on the face of the planet, regardless of race, creed, religion, ethnicity, disability, anything else, is of equal value. Every single one of them has the same value. That's tolerance. But every idea does not. And that's what it means to be elitist regarding ideas. Guess what? Wanting to murder someone is not of equal value as a firefighter or wanting to save someone. That is pretty obvious. And what we've had in this culture is we've had a switch of the two. We've come to the point of saying that actually people are valued based on their ideas. And so if you hold certain ideas, you as a person have more value than other people. And that's not how it works, actually. In fact, your value is not dictated by the ideas you hold. Your value is objective because you are made by a creator, designed specifically as you are. Therefore, when someone says you have terrible ideas, it doesn't change your value. And what that does is it allows you to have a negotiation, a talk with someone, because when you look at them and say, hey, that person right there that I want to talk to, that I disagree with, has the same value as me, you're not going to come to him as a condescending asshole. You're going to actually try to talk to them as a reasonable human being because you see them as the same value as you. You just want to help them see that their ideas are screwed up. But our culture has done the opposite. It has stated that your ideas dictate your value, and therefore, if someone has ideas you disagree with, they are less valuable. And that's what is happening. You can see that happening with Tesla. They've decided that Elon has less value than they do because he believes differently with them. He disagrees with them. And therefore, the people who buy Teslas are of less value than them because they bought a Tesla and clearly they disagree with them. That is the dumbest crap in the world, and it will destroy any nation. Being tolerant is to be egalitarian regarding people, meaning every single person is of the same value. But to be elitist regarding ideas. Part 2, and I'll leave you with this, is I get passionate. But here's the thing. I'm not going to talk to you unless I care about you. And so sometimes I get a little bit passionate and a little bit I wouldn't say yelly, because I don't yell. I just raise my voice because I get more passionate. The only reason I'm doing that, the only reason I'm even having a conversation with a person is because I care enough to. If I don't care about you, I won't talk to you. I'm not going to push back against your ideas because it's not worth my time. You're not in that circle that is worth my time. So, hopefully, you guys have a wonderful Saturday, and I'll leave it there.